appreciate everybody sticking around after I know it's been a lot of poems, you know. But I also want to, first of all, before I wander into some kind of madness, I want to thank, of course, Sean Coletti and Marcia De La O for making this thing happen, fantastic. Also, Marcia, you have the coolest name on earth, De La O. Come on now, that's just it. So it's a real pleasure to be here. I read some years ago at CI Channel Islands, and so it was great. And my man, Sean Carswell, is out there somewhere. And that's the only reason anyone knows me around here is because he had invited me years ago. So I'll read some poems and we'll just get into stuff. This is a poem. I've written a series of poems in which the poem is a character, and it'll make maybe more sense after I read the piece. This poem, the title goes right into the body of work, the body of the poem. I'll read this for everybody here. I know a number of you, of course, are poets, so I think you'll understand part of why this poem came to be. With no hat, no shirt, no pants, the poem walks the early afternoon. Summer sun spots the odd shape on the road and offers a cloud for shade. The poem is headed downtown with its revelations, its beauty, all the intricate parts finally open to the general public, who, though they try to deny it, have always wanted to see beneath the vintage clothes. The poem's previous modesty and stealth, its humility and restraint, its patient, soft-spoken invitations have served no one, really. Not even the poem itself, which has always wanted the spotlight. The red carpet, the sequined gown, the top hat, velvet lapels, ruby slippers, all its big front teeth inlaid with gold. The first people the poem passes look. Look away. Look again, their hope swelling like a fresh bump on the head. One guy tries 911, but the 9 skips, then shimmies like a new disciple. And the brother's big fro burst into cotton candy. The poem loves it, loves being out, being seen. The almost cool walk flips to a Denzel stroll. I'm kicking new flavor in your ear, it says unquietly, meeting the eyes of drivers who swerve, so sure they see what must be a mirage. A buck-naked angel rump-shaken beside the witless sprawl of their lives. Their heads anointed with apocryphal music. The cars refuse the road. Their horns reborn, scatting a fanfare of funkadelic clarinets. This is my body, the poem says. Take and eat. Thank you. Anyway, I'll read this next poem for Laure-Anne Bosselaar because I love her, and she's a kind of goddess to me. So I just figured I'll read this poem just for fun. Anyway, it's called "The Leap." It's an old poem. When I was just beginning to ask some questions about what divinity was and why is God always a dude? Like, I was just starting to ask those questions, like, why would that be? Anyway, The Leap. And the poem actually gets its title from the leap of faith, the idea that you cannot know God except by a leap of faith. And that's where the poem gets its title. The Leap. It's morning. Your mind leaps like a man with his ass on fire. You're late for work. It is your ass. The boss is already polishing the paddle. You hate the pitying eyes of others watching you approach his door. You ask yourself, will God be like this? Big bloodshot eyes, orthopedic shoes, blockhead bowed and slowly shaking as though you were simply some sad bastard come too late to repent. You open the door. It is God, but she's beautiful and relaxed, wearing a tight black dress, sipping Manischewitz. There are your good friends. There are your parents. There's Perrier on ice. God smiles and opens her arms. You're stunned. You point to yourself. A music falls over you like a fleece. You're holding God's hand and touching God's hair. Her arm encircles your waist, and suddenly you taste the holy lips. You smack yourself and straighten up, but God says, don't be shy, and fingers your ear. You don't know what to do. Your father says, that's God, son. It's all right. You feel so good so many places with such little effort. And to think you were an agnostic. After finding such a buddy, you will never work again. And you will not pretend you're Moses. You will simply live as though your brain were made of 100 drunken fish. It's morning. It will always be morning. All right. And here's a poem. I'll read this poem. Why not? We love our moms. This is a poem called Ode to Your Mother. Emily had mentioned liking this piece, so Emily, I tip my hat to you on this piece. Ode to Your Mother. I should say this before I start. Some of the references in here were actually things my mom had told me about when she had been pregnant with me. Ode to Your Mother. Do you remember yourself 6 months after conception? Far from the egg, your heart chirping like a hungry chick, those unwalked feet, fat crickets kicking around, eyes blind as buttons, cell by cell, rod by cone, getting ready to call up the colors and lights. And your mother, often craving licorice with apple pie, outside catching a bus with you in her warm pond, a golden koi nosing the surface for bits of bread, you, the unnamed stranger, coming for the long stay, traveling all night, your face taking shape in the shallows. Or maybe she sees herself, a bass drum with something booming inside her, a small theater off Broadway with someone soon to be famous pacing the wings. So much promise. Were you restless to begin? All your vitals rehearsing their hard parts. Did you have any sense that she was out there? Your brain, almost building itself, a secret mansion, 1,000,000 doors to 1,000,000 rooms, each with a candle, your little head holding the Milky Way rekindled in miniature. The great mischief waking up to try again. One particular flicker in the cosmic sea. A starfish riding the big back of a blue whale, which swims like a planet, gliding the sun's slow waves. With you beginning to insist inside this woman you hardly know, though she is everything, steadying her new weight on earth. Your heart, blind as a kite, wind on the rise 3 months from day. Did you suppose an inkling of what would be out there? The invisible air filling us up, rabbits and hats, hints, houses, banana slugs, bacteria and trees. Other people, the look on your face, already amazed, or whatever comes just before that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. This is a poem called The Dollars. It has an epigraph. The epigraph is, I'm all in. The dollars. Do they own you? Do they make you do whatever they want? Do they own you? Do you work and pay and work? Are you nervous? Is it hard to sleep? Do they got you? Was it hard to wake up? What about your hair? Does it keep happening? Are you doing your best? Do you need a little something? Are you dressed? Are you getting dressed? Are you almost dressed? What about your hair? Are you tired? Are you hard to wake up? What time is it? How about now? Do they need more? Do they make you over? Are you half dressed? Do they own you? Do you think what you're supposed to? Are you saving? Who are you saving? Are you nervous? Are they watching? Is it hard? Do you ever wake up? Do they own you? Do you wake up when they want you to? Are they everywhere? Are you on time? How about now? How about now? Do you do the work? Did you do the do? Did they do you? Are you trying to get dressed? Are you? Did you? Will you? Do they own you? Do they still own you? This is I've written a series of blues villanelles, and so I'm going to read this one. This is the Little Star Blues Villanelle. Someday no one will wonder where you are. Your name won't be on anyone's mind. Remember, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Count up the hours you scratched in your car. Where were you going most of the time? Someday, no one will wonder where you are. Maybe you think I take things too far. I think it was Mom who taught me to rhyme. She sang, Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Some days die like big bugs in the tar. Who was that small boy at the start of your mind? Someday your mother won't know who you are. Would have been nice to be crowned the czar. Tell everyone else what to do all the time. You better twinkle, twinkle, little star. What you think makes people work so hard? Like money's some mountain we're supposed to climb. One day, no one will wonder how you are. Mostly what kills me won't leave any scar. I bet I know why most people go blind. They need twinkle, twinkle, little star. Let's sit in the shade by that tree in the yard and chew on the hours with their lemony rind. Someday, no one will wonder what you are. Remember, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Thank you. There's nothing like reading to an audience. I know there are people in the audience who are not poets, but I mean, I know a lot of poets out there, so it's always wonderful to read kind of with family, you know what I mean? Because though it breaks my heart, not many people pay attention to, what's possible in language like poets do, And I wish more people just had a better sense of what kind of magic is possible in words, I mean, in every language, right? I mean, I love English, it's my language, but every language has its magic, mystery. This is a poem called A Go, just A Go. I mentioned the word time in here in two different ways. One is the spice, and the other is like what's on your watch. Right. Ago. There was a park I grew up near. It was Allberry, like Allberry. As a kid, I called it Allberry Park, but that's because it just sounded like that's what it should be, but it was Allberry Park. And the epigraph has that name in it, and it's June 2002. That's when I wrote this piece. Ago. I don't know where they are now, Vince and Nadja. Days like these, we'd walk to the park and wrestle the whole afternoon. Jigsawed leaves and yellow grass took over our free nations of black boy hair. We were 12, in the ticklish grip of just about everything. Naj loved red shoelace licorice, and Vince blacked big V's on the backs of his hands. Trying to pin those guys was like trying to braid the tongue of a snake. And we laughed the way June's sun beams on trombone brass. I like to believe the craziness that made us tackle and roll blew in from a last storm of childhood genius, that blind faith in the glory of playing whatever you want. But maybe we had just found a way to rush the time it would take to shove past our parents, a way to wait without waiting for the years to let us out, with no homework, no bedtime, and no reason to clean up our rooms. This was before we saw how it was and turned secretly desperate, before our eyes were sharpened by sex, before they killed king and race bled all over our lives. And if time did anything then, it only made us younger. Or if it didn't, it only touched us the way our mothers brushed our hair. Roughly, but just meaning to help us look better. But it's different now. Nobody grades my citizenship, and my face won't be smooth again. I can't find my friends, and when I do, they've strayed into these half-bald, middle-aged men whose voices I remember kind of, the way I remember the fried apples my mom used to fix when I was still a bacon-headed boy begging to sizzle along in the world's hot skillet. But it's different now, and it ain't the same. These trees are bigger than the ones we tussled under, and my tough father has grown smaller than me and kind, and I don't know anymore. I don't know what I knew about not getting pinned to the ground. But one summer, when I was halfway done with my teens, I heard my great aunt say she didn't like the flavor of time. And not knowing any other way to spell that sound, I stared at the kitchen wall, at the flowery face of the plastic clock, and watched the second hand wheeling its well-worn way around. And I knew, even then, that somehow, without really trying, I'd become older than those hula hooping little girls whirling their skinny hips down the alley. And I was glad to be made of that many years. But I did start to wonder how it would feel and what on earth it would mean when I could actually taste it. Thank you. This is a poem called Late Shift. Late shift. Places, maybe dreams, from which I cannot return. The velvet touch of first light, fingering a cup. Sacred dislocations of mind. The way the right sound becomes visible. Where I am now, it's later. The clocks have been amended to include all the strange hours. And someone cracked my name as if all my life I'd been locked inside. I know the shelves stay stocked. Big cars lead the chase. There's always more and more to eat. But was that ever my country? I was born there, and I'd go back if I could. But what I took to be a certain distance was actually a late shift in myself, a different kind of listening. The voice, a thread of honey, the jar tipped just enough to one side. Listen, we belong to no nation. One day, we will hold the earth again, as if she'd been a love nearly lost. Her rainy hair tangled in our hands. The soul is what we are. Every life a word the wind turns to say. And though trouble grows back like a beard, and unchained blood governs my tongue, I have seen the door that is not there still open. Thank you. And this is a new poem. This is too new to be in any book. There was a wonderful poet, spoken word artist. His name was Danny Solis. Maybe some of you might even know of him. If you don't, you can go to YouTube and just put in Danny Solis. He was an amazing poet. Died very suddenly about 6 months ago. And so this is a small detail. Doesn't matter, I suppose, except to me. But I had been talking to him on the phone like just a week before. And he was like, I'm going to send you some poems. And hey, man, you got to tell me this. And I told him, man, I can't tell you anything about poetry, you know. And so I'm waiting for these poems. And someone calls me and says, hey, man, what are we going to do without Danny? I was like, what are you talking about, you know? So that was one of those things. Anyway, so he has one of these poems, a poem that ends with the line, welcome to the revolution, cabron. And I love that. I love that. So this poem is for him and for everybody here, of course. It's a poem in which the poem is a character. And the title goes once again into the body of the poem. The poem had started to believe that what's wrong with the world cannot be fixed, will not be stopped, no matter what the poem proposes, no matter how hard the poem sweats. The sky swims with crocodiles. Every day the daylight shrinks like a cheap shirt. Nothing fits, the poem mutters. I do not fit in this world. Imagine an octopus in a t-shirt, a brontosaurus in skinny jeans. The poem's brain, a firestorm crammed into a snow globe. I came here for grasshoppers, for gingerbread and the mellow smell of cedar, for love with all its soulful incantations, for poetry, preemptive, impolite, polyphonic, and for kisses, latent, lavish, salacious, kisses long as an opera. But what do I get? Chronic stupidity, bad religions, and bigotry by the boatload. Half the world worked to death, the other half hungry. Politicians bouncing on the laps of lobbyists while the rich try to stifle their giggles. I have put up and put up and put up with it. The poem smacks its head, its hair nappy and matted, its fingernails cracked. The poem had studied the rules, applied for better verbs, maintain its soft growl of restrained aggravation, that spritz of semi-ecstatic wonder. But now it knows it's just a minstrel show, a silly soft shoe, jazz hands, obsequious and degrading. They treat us like fluff, the poem sneers, like the dandruff of the headless. What's with all this backbiting about big-time publication? I remember my first lines, the first sharp tang of truth on my tongue, the shuffle of days before they were named. Who hogtied me to these pages? I am the child of pagans and poltergeists, of Zulus and the Comanche. I am the soul's paella, all the moans of every Friday night. You who have paved this stolen land, played this broken story, poured this comfy quicksand for the heart, beware. I was not born to make peace with you or for your sake. It's time the people knew, time the spirit scrambled for the wind to remember and the fists to sing. I dream with red ants and wolves, with clownfish and corn snakes. I am better weather and bright wings for Gaza, for South Side Chicago, Cheyenne River, and the Sahel. As prophesied by no one, I have risen again like a welt after the lash, like a dandelion from the forehead of a cyclops, like a horde of locusts after the field is bare. Go, tell it. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. You're very kind. Thank you. Y'all are totally insane. All right. Okay. I'll read another poem. I don't know what the first kiss. You want to hear that? All right. Okay. It's always good to end on a kiss, eh? All right. You guys are totally mad, though. That is the truth. All right. There it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Laure-Anne, you had done that anthology of kisses, remember? And so this piece, you did a different kiss, but I think about that anthology when I read this poem. All right. Anyway, so I'll give you just a tiny bit of background on this poem. And I imagine most of us have had an experience something like this, and if you haven't, it will happen. Like, you have like, we kiss, there are wonderful kisses. There are kisses that we love and enjoy, yes. And then there are the kisses that like kind of rewrite your DNA. You know what I mean? Everyone probably has at least one of those in their life, And so this was one of those things where, it was one of those things that makes it actually cool, is like, I was wandering around in New York, not in particular thinking of much of anything. I was just hanging out, for some reason. I can't remember why I was there, maybe to see some jazz or something. But I ran into this young woman that I had known, this was years ago. I ran into a young woman I always thought she was very nice looking. I thought, want to check out the show, whatever. So we went. And then afterwards, there was this kiss. And so the poem really goes from that particular kiss. And, but I dedicate it to all the good kisses of all times, Because, I mean, given the strangeness and difficulty of this world, we need a few things that kind of knock all the bad news back, A good kiss can do that. All right, first kiss. I dedicate it to lips, because we all got some, yeah? Her mouth fell into my mouth like a summer snow, like a fifth season, like a fresh Eden, like Eden when Eve made God whimper with the liquid tilt of her hips. Her kiss hurt like that. I mean, it was as if she'd mixed the sweat of an angel with the taste of a tangerine. I swear, my mouth had been a helmet forever greased with secrets. My mouth, a dead-end street, a little bit lit by teeth. My heart, a clam slammed shut at the bottom of a dark. But her mouth pulled up like a baby blue Cadillac, packed with canaries, driven by a toucan. I swear, those lips said bright wings when we kissed, wild and precise, as if she were teaching a seahorse to speak. Her mouth so careful, chumming the first valve from my throat, until my brain was a piano, banged loud, hammered like that. It was like, I swear, her tongue was Saturn's seventh moon, hot like that, hot and cold, and circling, turning me into a glad planet, sun on one side, night pouring her slow hand over the other, one fire flying the kite of another. Her kiss, I swear, if the great mother rushed open the moon like a gift, and you were there to feel your shadow finally unhooked from your wrist, that'd be it. But even sweeter, like a riot of peg-legged priests on pogo sticks. Up and up, this way and higher, not falling, but on and on like that, badly behaved, but holy, I swear. That kiss. Both lips utterly committed to the world, like a Peace Corps, like a free store, forever and always a new city, no locks, no walls, just doors, like that. I swear. You're all very kind. You're sweet. Thank you. You're all crazy, but thank you. You're all sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Tim fucking Seibles. Couple things I need to say before I release you into the magic which has just happened. I'll talk first about tomorrow, just because I don't want to end on that. Tomorrow is the final day of the festival. At 11 in the morning, I'll be doing a workshop on generating new poetry. At 1 o'clock, we'll have performances from our festival competition winners, including a performance by the leader of our judging panel, Marcia, And then to conclude the festival at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a showcase of Ventura County poets represented from all of the cities and the areas within Ventura County. Thank you for being here. This has been a very special day of poetry, which has ended in a very special way, and it's a big moment, I think, for our community. 9 years from now, when we're doing the 10th annual festival, people will look back on paper at the iterations, see the first one, see Luke's name, and Jenifer's name, and Laure-Anne's name, and Tim's name, and wonder, where were they? And this is an anxiety that none of you will have. Again, thank you for helping create this. And please talk with the poets. Please have a look at some of the books which are on sale. Please come back tomorrow if you're available. If you're not available, just feel guilty, I suppose. And please get home safe. Thank you so much, and good night.